facilitating this session for us today. For my role of a program director. We are going to be unpacking the changes that we are going to be introducing in the RSR, the changes to the SMS, which will be through the SMS determination. The process that we followed was a very inclusive process that got inputs from various stakeholders. And we want to thank everyone who has taken part in the development of this revised determination. We know that we could only invite a few operators to join us here at the RSR. So you will hear some of the members from the operators who took part in the session or in the development. They'll be speaking to us on the various sessions or the topics. Maybe before we go far, I just want to indicate that this session will be a recorded session. I trust that we do not have any issues with that. And if there's any concern, please put that on the chat so that we can respond to that. Okay, the next item that we want to deal with in terms of housekeeping rules is that we will be taking some questions that we will deal with towards the end of this session. Please, if there's comments or questions that you want us to deal with or to address, please note those in our chat box. We will collate them and deal with them at the end. And please do assist us. We do have an evaluation form that we would like for you to complete. We want to improve our services and the way we engage with you. So please just give objective comments so that we can improve where we need to improve. And what you have in front of you on the screen is the program for the day. We'll be dealing with why the SMS determination was reviewed. We'll also look at the reasons for the proposed changes. So there were various changes that were introduced in the revised SMS determination, and we will be dealing with those changes as to why we dealt with those. And we'll also deal with the impact of the proposed changes on the railway industry. In other words, how do these affect you as the operators, and how do they affect us as the RSI and the various stakeholders that are involved in the railway operations? Yes. Can you hear me? Colleagues, maybe if
Yes.
So that we can have a seamless session, maybe let's keep our mute buttons on so that we can be able to facilitate this clearly. I see already there's a hand that is raised. Maybe we can deal with the hands as we progress. But the questions, we would like to deal with the questions at the end. So please use the chat function so that we can deal with everything comprehensively at the end. Maybe let's do it that way. Let's use the chat function so that we can address the questions that arise.
Hello, can anybody hear me?
We can hear you loudly and clearly. I'm not sure who's on that side. Yeah, I think we are ready now to kick off with the program. And colleagues, we really would like to thank everyone who has given their inputs, who has participated in the development of this revised SMS, which we will publish through a determination. But the colleagues will update you in terms of the process as it unfolds. In terms of the program, as you can see, we will first there's a slight change in our program. We will be having Mr. Dennis Owaga, who is the head of safety permit management, who will talk to us about the regulatory changes and the SMS determination, the things that you need to know.
Sorry, Mr. Nchingila, you are on mute. We can't hear you anymore.
Okay, sorry for that. It has been sorted. I think we are now okay. Please, Neo, do assist us with muting everyone. I think Neo can deal with that and accepting the participants. But we'll keep it unmuted here in the boardroom so that we don't get disturbed. As I was saying, we have first on the lineup, we will have Mr. Dennis Owaga, who will be talking to us about the things that you need to know in terms of the changes in this revised SMS that we are introducing as the RSR. We will have a 2-hour session for the entire session, but Dennis will take us, I'm going to give you, Dennis, only 15 minutes at most so that you give us an overview. Then I will guide us as to where do we move from here. I will hand over to Dennis to give us that overview of those changes in terms of what the people can expect that designation. Over to you, Dennis. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director. Morning, ladies and gentlemen present in person and those joining us online. It's my privilege to address you today to discuss the SMS determination and emphasize the importance of safety management systems in light of the railway regulatory changes that are currently ongoing. Safety management systems are the heart of organizations and industries that regard safety be an integral part of the existence. From its inception 21 years ago, the railway safety regulator recognized the importance of the SMS in promoting operational safety and advancing business objectives. This was supported by the NRSR Act, which made it mandatory for all the railway operators who wish to be granted a safety permit to have an effective safety management system that enables them to integrate safety into daily operations. SMS requirements were first provided in the SANS 3001, which is the safety management system standard, in 2009. In 2018, in line with Section 18 of the Act, the regulator developed and gazetted the SMS determination, which provided more comprehensive details regarding the form and content of a safety management system that's required for the different categories and types of safety permit, the form, content, and manner of submission of safety management system report, and the circumstances under which the regulator may require the holder of a safety permit to revise and amend a safety management system or safety management system report. It has now been 5 years since the more comprehensive SMS requirements were articulated in the SMS determination of May 2018, since they were put in place. We, as the railway safety regulator, are now also 5 years later regarding the extent to which the SMS determination is fit for purpose, its ease of implementation, and potential improvement areas. Over the use of the seminal document. Through engagement with users, we learned that while the determination was assisting the rail industry to make great strides in improving the railway safety management, it was also clear that there were improvement areas. This became the basis upon which a decision was taken to revisit the SMS requirements with a view to improving this critical legislative tool, and to find ways to make it work better for our industry. We come together today to update the industry on the progress made so far with this review process. We're also here today to provide feedback to the industry on the changes that have been proposed in reaction to the input received as well as in alignment with global developments. We did cast the net wider and were very deliberate about taking a participatory approach in reviewing the SMS requirements. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the industry for their active participation in the review process thus far. Whether you participated in the survey, site observations, operator and regulator workshops, or in the technical workshop groups, your contributions have been valuable and have forced us to interrogate every aspect of the SMS requirement. And this innovatively about how, and think innovatively about how we can make improvements that will move our industry forward. We trust that you will continue to support this review, and we look forward to presenting back to you SMS requirements that support the railway industry better. The review of the SMS determination is, of course, not occurring in isolation. Many of you will be aware that the National Rail Policy was published recently and articulates the vision of the railway industry, which has certain implications on how the industry should transform to achieve this vision and contribute more to the national imperatives. The NRSR Act, which forms the legal foundation of our industry, is also under review. While the Railway Safety Bill included several key changes, it is noteworthy that in the last version of the document that was out for public comments, the fundamental requirement of managing safety of railway operations through the SMS has remained intact. There have been other legislative tools that have been developed to support the railway industry to better manage the systemic risks that threaten safety. This type and caliber of legislative tools that our industry has is testament to the fact that ours is an industry that continuously seeks to do better. While we may not always agree on some of the details at the heart of it, we all want to improve railway safety and provide a conducive environment for safety organizations to thrive. We therefore implore you to continue engaging with us as the regulator and to contribute to shaping the legislative landscape for our industry. I thank you.
That was Mr. Dennis Owaga. Thank you very much, Dennis, for just giving us that overview of the genesis for the development, the implementation, and the review of our SMS determination. Thank you for that. I think it gives us a very clear picture as to the process that has been followed, the industry participation, and the various interactions that we've had, and what the industry can expect going forward with regards to this process. I just want to reiterate to the teams, to the colleagues, as you've heard that Mr. Owaga has indicated that we have had a lot of participation or significant participation from the various role players, especially the rail operators. So we further implore you that as this process progresses, please keep an eye on the publication from the RSF so that you can continue to participate as such. We thank you for that, Dr. Owaga. We have then next on the agenda, as I've indicated, please let's keep our comments captured in the chat box or use the chat function to deal with those comments. And we will try our utmost best to respond to those comments just before we conclude this session. The next item on the agenda, as you can see, we will be having Mr. Muzi Masango, who will be taking us through those changes. Yeah, I think the response is a bit slow on my PC. Please pardon us for that. Mr. Masango will be taking us through an overview of the gap analysis that was conducted when we started with the review of this SMS. He will also deal with the identified improvement areas in the now reviewed SMS. So as you are aware, or you might be aware, there were some changes there's some gaps that were identified as we were implementing this determination. So Moses will tell us more as to where we are, the process that we followed with the gap analysis, and the changes that we have introduced. Mozi Masango, or Mzwandile Masango, is the acting head of safety management here at the RSR. He's looking after the various function under safety management. And I will hand over now to Mr. Masango to take us through his presentation. If you can just hand back to me, Mozi, in the next 20 minutes, I will be glad. Over to you, Mozi.
Okay. Thank you, Program Director. My task is to just give an overview of the process that led us to where we are at this time. So my presentation will just take the background, then we'll delve into the results of the gap analysis that was done in consultation with the industry and other players. Then look at the structure, what we came up with, and sort of do the conclusion. It's not a long presentation. As a form of background, the safety management system, according to the Act, it's a formal framework that integrates the day-to-day safety into the day-to-day railway operation. That includes safety goals, performance targets, risk assessments, responsibilities and authorities, rules and procedures, monitoring and evaluation processes, and any other matter that may be prescribed. So the SMS is a regulatory environment articulated in the National Railway Safety Regulator Act of 2002 as amended, and also the requirements are also detailed in the current SMS determination of 2008 and the supporting SMS standard SENS and RSR standards that support the SMS. So as we said, the SMS determination was first gazetted in 2018, and it was developed in line with Section 28 of the National Railway Safety Regulator Act of 2002 as amended, which really say the regulator, in this time the RSR, must determine the form and contents of the railway safety management that is required for different categories and types of permits. So the form and content and manner of submission of a safety management report, and the circumstances in which the regulator may require a permit holder to a holder of a safety permit to amend or revise the safety management system or safety management report. So in line with that, that's why the RSR took a decision to make this determination of a safety management system. So now, as Dennis was saying, it's been 5 years, and there's been a lot of feedback from the industry and other stakeholders in terms of what were the challenges with the current SMS determination. So another issue is that it is best practice to also, continuously review these legislative requirements to ensure that they are still fit for purpose. And in that view, that user feedback from the operators highlighted the improvement areas that can streamline the SMS requirement and support railway operator to comply. So this review of the SMS provided the opportunity for the RSR and for greater railway operators involvement in setting up the SMS requirements going forward with, as you can see, that we took a participatory approach when we're doing this. So in terms of the hierarchy of legislation and where is this SMS determination can be located, and you can see, as we see the hierarchy at the top, at the pinnacle of this pyramid, you can see the Act. Then next, it's followed by the railway regulations, which come from the Act. Then the SMS determination, followed by SENS and RSR series of standards, which would support for compliance to the SMS determination, and other railway codes of practice and guidance documents. So the SMS determination serves as an instruction to railway operators to document, implement, and implement SMS and SMS report in compliance with SENS and RSR standards and the SMS determination. So going back to the project that we are currently embarking, stage one of the project entailed that the RSR did the gap analysis, and which the results of this analysis, we are going to be seeing it now in the next few slides. Then out of the results of that gap analysis, the current SMS was reviewed and updated, and SMSR requirement incorporating industry input were obtained during stage one of the project. So at this time of the project, we are at phase two, which is stage two, as you see the arrow there. But the focus of this presentation will be on the results of the gap analysis, just to give a structured view of how we got to the point we are now. So if you look at the methodology we used during the gap analysis, we started by doing an operator survey, and we did 5 site visits and workshops. So the demographic of the operators that responded to this to our surveys and participated in our workshop and we visited 6 operator sites for observation, and we did also some workshop. So the online survey that we did in the beginning of this process, we got a 30% response rate. So out of that response, the result, the makeup of the response was 60% were network operators, 34% were train operators, and 6% station. In terms of the categories of permits, we had category A with the 50%, 57%, category B with 15%, and category C 28%.
Sharp.
Can we ask that you
Man, Mpegele leave and bonus provision.
We'd like to ask our attendees there. We'd like to ask our attendees to ensure that they are muted so that we avoid disturbance of the proceedings. So, yeah, so that was the demographics of the operators that participated in this gap analysis. Okay, so during the workshops, what we did, we got input from RSR users of permit from the operators, permit administration team, permit assessment team that were internally, and safety oversight team. Those were the workshops with the RSR. Then the third phase of our methodology was to document the document reviews, which included the review of RSR and railway operator SMS documentation, looking at the international best practices, and see in the literature review what is out there in terms of this SMS standard, SMS across the globe. This was made to just make sure that if our current SMS is aligned to best practices. So what came out from this is that the majority of railway operators were in favor of the SMS being reviewed. But in terms of the response rate, as you can see the pie chart there, 71.2% of operators were in favor of the review of the SMS requirement. Then 25.8% were neutral, couldn't really take us. Then the remaining 3% was opposed. So to us, after using the SMS for 5 years, the railway operator did think that the SMS needs to be reviewed. Let me control it from there, please. Yeah. Yes. So after the gap analysis, there were few areas of improvements that the groups, the group and all the information that was gathered came up with. Firstly, the question was, did the railway operator think that the current SMS determination included all the necessary elements? So the answer to that was a yes. The majority of those surveys thought that the elements of the SMS were adequately incorporated in the determination. So this suggested to the RSR that the majority of the content was aligned to the user requirements. So in terms of that, there was a few elements that were raised, that all the elements of the SMS devices were varying in degrees, were perceived by operators to be helpful for managing oversight, the oversight role of operations. But the biggest thing was raised that the elements of the SMS needed to be sort of streamlined so that there's less repetition. So which we took that, and very few operators rated some of the elements and processes as not being necessary for demonstration safety and would prefer them to be removed. So there were a few that suggested that. And then there's some operators who indicated that the structure of the SMS requirements as depicted by the SMS wheel, the current wheel that we'll see later, was difficult to match to their existing safety management system requirements and other authorities, which really was taken to. So we are just indicating what the suggested improvement were. So other improvement areas were the content and the structure of the SMS. So it was indicated that the structure of the current determination does not need major revision. So the structure of the SMS determination and method could be improved to support operators in better implementing and complying with the SMS requirements. So in terms of those that suggested this, so 48.5% said there needs to be minor changes. 28.8% said there was a need to of a major update of the requirements. Then the 22.7% were of the view that there's no need to change. But if you look, more than 70% were of the view that there has to be some change. So in terms of what we came up with, that we will see in the gazetted SMS reviewed determination that is currently gazetted. So the content and structure of the SMS, as you see in the slide, on your left, you can see the current wheel, and on the left is just to demonstrate how the updated SMS determination is depicted in terms of the wheel. So what the overview that we can give you is that first, what we did, the three main processes of the current SMS determination were rearranged by consolidation. Similar requirements were consolidated, but most of the previous requirements were kept. So it was a question of, to make sure that that reputation we're talking about, which is mentioned as the second point here, is addressed. So similar requirements have been incorporated and combined for a better streamlined compliance requirements. Then we think that the current structure will be better aligned to relay operator and processes and practices. So in terms of what you will be seeing when you review the Gazette, is that there's not going to be much in terms of the requirements changes, but you'll see the consolidation of those requirements that were similar, which were repeated maybe 3 times at some point, and all those things, just for better, arrangement of these elements and requirements. There was also an area of improvement in terms of permit administration. It was thought at the discussion and the information that was received from the operators that it will seem that the current SMS determination was more geared to support a compliance-based approach rather than risk approach. Because compliance-based approach, it doesn't really consider the risk maturity and the fact that there are varying degrees of which operators meet the requirements. So not all operators are the same. And some saw it as a tick box exercise rather than the results of genuine engagement with broader safety management in practice. So we needed to think about those things. So this SMS review and the SMS review and verification and permit application process was suggested that should incorporate maybe field assessment observations to minimize gap between the documentation and what is implemented by the operators. And also, there was a need to create a better alignment between the permit application process and other safety oversight activities, which maybe really that speaks to the RSR, so that will result in the potential use of oversight activities and as inputs into the safety application process. There was also a suggestion to improve the names because it is a critical system that allows the operators to demonstrate compliance, but some thought it is not user-friendly at this current state. So the update requires to enable operators to demonstrate their SMS better. For example, archive functions, ability to cross-reference evidence across different elements. So those are the suggestions that were directly linked to the NIMS system. So in terms of other improvement areas, there was the issue of challenges with the management of external stakeholders. This really talked to mainly the interfaces that operators have and interoperability areas, which have been considered, and the RSR had already identified that. That's why we see there was a standard that was recently published to deal with this. But at the time, these were the issues that were raised in terms of interface agreement between organizations that are non-rail. They say they just rely on goodwill. So that was an issue. Then the interoperability and shared responsibility to manage the risk for non-rail stakeholders to whom rail legislation does not really apply is also a challenge, which taken it, we hope that we tried to address this. Then there was a suggestion that we require other means to compel those non-rail stakeholders to effectively participate in the management of railway risk and beyond the scope of the railway, that are always beyond the scope of the operator, because we know that there's a lot of interfaces and a lot happening in the industries. So that gap needed to be closed. Other improvement included the areas of training. We also asked the question of whether how often training was done in the past 5 years. As we can see in the graph on our left-hand side, most of the training was done in the beginning in 2008 when the current SMS determination was gazetted. So over the years, you can see the percentage has dropped, you see. So another thing is that majority of the respondents said the training was a once-off training, but there is another 14.8% which had done the training more than twice a year, and others they've done training once a year since inception. So I think it's those that were requesting the RSR to come and train them on the SMS determination as we go. So which is the avenue that is also open for all operators. And the other areas raised is that not all the operator personnel are trained on the SMS determination. So in terms of the response rate, 47% indicated that some of the personnel that compiled the safety permit application were trained. Then 33% was indicating that none of those personnel were trained on the SMS. Then 19.7, yes, they said yes, they are personnel who deals with this with these requirements every day were trained. So we needed to also take that into consideration. So to sum up this is that several SMS of this SMS requirements that operators felt that are unclear in terms of their requirements and needed further explanation and training. They identified that maybe there should be that ongoing training and more clarification of this, which we are trying to address through some other interventions, and that there should be a provision of more continuous and periodic training and follow-up session for RSR and operators would be beneficial. So even that, taking it into consideration, and the practical application of the information to supplement the this paper requirement might be required. That was also an issue that was raised by the operators. So to sum up everything that we presented now in terms of how we went about the approach and where we that ended up to where we are, is that the review of the SMS requirement was necessary in line with the best practices. So we also think that the participatory approach adopted with these reviews has ensured that the inputs from the operators or users drove that proposed changes and is responsive and to the needs of both the operator and the RSR, because obviously even the RSR had some issues in terms of of the areas that needed to be improved in the current determination. And would like also to ask our operators and stakeholders to further make input into the document to improve it, the final, that final one. As we know that currently this document is gazetted for public comment for 30 days, which ends in 31st May 2004. So we encourage everyone to make some time to make inputs so that we have a more encompassing document that will better serve the operators and improve safety in the industry. Thank you, Project Director.
Thank you, Ms. Masango. Thank you for that overview of the process that was followed, giving us a sense of the gap analysis that was conducted, and the identified areas of improvement that we had, which were incorporated. I like what you have indicated in your conclusion to highlight to us that the review of the SMS requirements followed best practice, that it was a scientific approach. We conducted surveys. Yes, I've noted that we had a 30% response rate, but in terms of sampling, I think that is adequate to address the validity and the reliability of that survey. I think it's important to highlight that. Also highlighted in the conclusion is the participatory approach that the RSR has followed, which ensured that we hear the industry, we listened to the cries and the issues that the industry was having in implementing the requirements of the SMS, and hence the participatory approach that we have followed. Mr. Masango, I think you were a little bit beyond the time that I allowed, but I think this eats into the time of the next speakers. Just to confirm or to validate the fact that this process was a participatory process, we did have operators that participated in working groups, in surveys, and hence we will have we hear a view or a perspective of those operators that participated as members of the working group and who also gave inputs into the review of this SMS. We just invited a sample of the operators. Unfortunately, we could not invite everyone that participated. So we will now get a perspective from our operators. We will start with Mr. Fatle, who will now give us a perspective of an operator that participated in this review. Mr. Tifo Khatle is the head of safety at Transnet. He participates in a lot of our processes at the RSR, which we do appreciate. And we would like to give him an opportunity just to give us a sense of the experience and what he can add with regards to the process so far. I'll hand over to Mr. Khatle, but I think I need to do this. I know Mr. Khatle. Mr. Khatle is very gifted. He can take us for the coming hour. So I need to limit our speakers from the operator's perspective. We will have 4 speakers who will give us a perspective of the operators. So, Mr. Khatle, I would request that you summarize your inputs within 10 minutes so that we allow the rest of the participants to have a bite at this. Over to you, Tifo.
Thanks, Chair. That's not a good reputation.
No,
Thank you very much. I hope I'm audible. As indicated, I am Tifo Khatle. I am Tifo Khatle, head of rail safety in TFR. I think firstly, I would like to thank the RSR for the opportunity given to the operators to input into the SMS determination. It was indeed a robust process. We had many discussions, so we really appreciate this opportunity. And I just need to mention that it comes on the back of, the original SMS determination. There were no engagements on that one. It was just given to us, and we had many discussions around it. So what is clear is that the RSR is changing. This is the new RSR, and we can see where we are going. So that is in order. Thank you very much. Indeed, colleagues, we have been implementing the SMS determination, and there was a need for a review, and it was well articulated by the RSR that, there were issues of repetition that we have raised. There were issues of clutter. It just made things difficult. As you can imagine, we were coming from the format that we used to use before then in 28 was the SANS 3000 part 1, so transitioning to this one, it became just difficult. But that gave us a good experience, and with the 5 years implementing, once the need for the change or the review came, it became a platform where we needed to engage, and I think we have given all our inputs, and then they have been considered. The one issue that I think we still really need to look at, and there is an opportunity now, is the issue of submission. You know, the format, I think we are there. The submission is what is a challenge. There needs to be a distinction between a new applicant and, you know, somebody who is just maintaining a safety permit. And if we go that route, it will allow for the assessment to also look at adequacy of implementation. As it stands, it is all about documentation. It's like everybody's treated new. We are seeing it now with the 3-year safety permit, that there is on a yearly basis focus on performance. But when you start applying again, once the 3 years is gone, there starts problems, because we forget about our performance, we start anew, which I don't think is progressive. That's something maybe that we need to seriously look at. Yeah, and then just the last one, so that I'm within my 10 minutes. I need 30 minutes. That I'm still within my 10 minutes. I think as operators, we like simplified things. You know, when I look at the old and the new will, you can see that a lot of work went into there. It is becoming simplified. As operators, it's very simple. We always follow for everything that we do: planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Now, when we look at that planning, we are simply saying, is the standard or the determination talking to legislation? Which legislation we must look at? Which standards are applicable? We are looking at the need for a policy that we need to look at. And then from there, we are looking at our risk assessments. Now, the risk assessments, and this is the point I want to bring, is that the risk assessment begin to say, where do you focus? You focus on your infrastructure, you focus on your rolling stock, you focus on your people. And in focusing on the people, you bring the issue of human factors clear. But now, what is overarching becomes your safety culture, because now it talks to any other thing that we do. But immediately we bring safety culture, the human factor outside. It is now no more risk-based, but we are saying human factor must be risk-based. Where there will be human intervention required, that risk has to be looked at, you know. So yeah, I think what is appreciated is that we've got a time, you know, to input, and then we'll definitely take care of that. I'm just not too sure. I'm looking at somebody in terms of the due date of the end of this month. It seems too close. It seems too close. We are only having the session today. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Hatle. That's a significant improvement in terms of timekeeping. We really appreciate that. To the point and brief, as you can hear, the comments, the views, the areas of improvement that were raised from the operators' perspectives were considered. And yes, we do take note of the further comments and inputs that you are making now. But I think significantly, most of them have been addressed or incorporated into the revised SMS determination. And with regards to the application for the permit, the renewal, the annual renewal, and the new applications, let's allow Louisa, when her time comes, to talk to that. So we will hopefully touch a bit on the points that you have raised. And thank you for that. Thank you for the participation and the input and the comments that you have provided so far. So to Mr. Masango, it sounds like the colleague is saying the time that is still left is tight. So I think it's just a call to all the operators to say to everyone, the determination has been published already. It is out there for public comments. Please engage with that document. You still have an opportunity to give inputs and comments so that we can deal with the ones that are incorporatable. So that we want a robust SMS, colleagues. We want an SMS that assists the industry to operate safely. And so please do participate. Do go online and find that published determination, give inputs, critique where you need to critique, but unfortunately, just reconfirm, Mr. Masamo, it's the 28th of May. Is that correct? 31st. Okay. So it's closing. We're following the drafting rules, colleagues. It's closing at the end of May. And so please do use this opportunity just after you voted. Just make sure that your comments have been submitted. So thank you, Dr. Khatle. We'll go to the next presenter. Mr. Mahenye is the Executive Manager, Safety in the Office of the Nominated Manager at PRASA. I think I'm not going to say a lot about Mr. Mahenye. He's been in the industry for a lot of years. I don't want to expose him, but he's got a significant experience. So his inputs were also valuable in the process that we have followed. Mr. Mahenye, if you can give your perspective as a participant in the process that we have embarked on. So that we can see if there's anything else that we can take from the session, and just to give a sense of your experience in the revised process that we followed. I've noted that he has indicated that the first process or the initial publication was not so pleasant. I almost said not make sure, but I don't think that's proper English. Mr. Mahenye, the perspective from the operators, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Program Director. I think from my side, first of all, personal experience, as you have asked what was that. It was a little bit confusing because in the first meeting, we were instructed not to discuss with our operators, which was quite difficult because we are here representing the operators, and how can we not share? But that was clarified as to why we needed to do that. So it was a little bit difficult not to wear the cap of a PRASA and wear the cap of a technical committee member. There was always a temptation to want to push the agenda of PRASA. But one had to work very hard to make sure that you don't do that, because it was important that as an industry, we come up with an SMS that can work for the industry in South Africa. I think that Hartley has indicated the current document, we know the difficulties we had with that. Just to remind, when it was implemented, we were told that we are experimenting. And we were taken aback when we were told that you must comply. So that change in attitude of engaging the operators and say, let's work together, let's develop something that can work. I think it assisted us as members of the technical committee to focus and remain as objective as possible. What I appreciated about the work that we did and the draft that was put forward is the goal of providing clarity, especially when it comes to providing evidence to demonstrate that the operator meet the requirements. I think that was key, and I think that was what the technical committee was driving to say. We want a document that will be able to assist the operators to see how we can demonstrate to the regulator that we meet the requirements, as opposed to a document that will compel us to just go and collect documentation and tick the boxes and submit the documentation. And I want to believe that the technical committee was able to do that in making sure that this document will be able to provide clarity in terms of what are the requirements and how to demonstrate that you meet those requirements. The emphasis that was put on a risk assessment, risk-based SMS, because our objective is to manage the safety risks. And I believe that this document would be able to assist the operators to do that, because that is the foundation upon which the safety management system of any operator should be built. And the operator should be able to demonstrate that I have the controls that will be able to deal with this. Was the review necessary? Of course, I believe it was necessary. Apart from the fact that the current document has been in existence for some time. And there's always been, every time, I don't think there is any stressful time for operators than the time when you have to apply or renew your vehicle. That's the most stressful time, because number one, you're going to complete your SPKM and you're going to tick that I comply, and collate your document. And when you receive the feedback from the RSR, non-compliant. But I think in this case, the document will be able to assist in the understanding that what are the requirements and what type of evidence you would be able to demonstrate and collate and put together. I think that really indicated the necessity. I just wanted to iterate what Tefo has said, that moving forward, if we really, Melissa, if we can look at that, if the permit is expiring in 2025, when we submit the ASIP, let's not make it a burden, administrative burden for the operators, because you are already in possession of an operating permit. So let's make the process of submitting the ASIP as simple as we can, rather than to make it as a burden exercise for the operators. I think that can help a lot. In terms of the reflection on the technical working group, and input into the review process, I think the objectivity that was demonstrated by the railway safety regulator, and to get a service provider to drive the process rather than the regulator driving it himself. I think that on its own gave credence to the process, and that we trust in the process. And as we went along, I think it started to help the operators to build a relationship among each other. We got the opportunity to learn from each other. There were things that I thought I was understanding them, but when someone else raising them and explaining them, it actually clarified my understanding, that I always had a wrong understanding, and this is how it can be done. I think that was a good exercise, and I hope that moving forward, that's going to be the process. We have already tasted this new regulator, so let it not change. Let's continue on that trajectory. The inclusion of railway operators inside our opinions, why railway operators should submit their comments during the public comments phase. As a technical committee, as I've indicated, we were trying to be as objective as we can. And now that is going out there, now I can go and put on my head as a PRASA representative and critique the work of the technical committee and see whether the technical committee has some blind spots, And I think it is quite an interesting exercise, because you are already engaging in that exercise, and you get other colleagues who are also providing their inputs into the document, and you are like, oh, we didn't think about this, and now it makes sense. So the involvement, and I would like to encourage the operators, especially the smaller operators. I think one of the things that came out during the review was to differentiate between a smaller operator and a bigger operator. And not that they should be treated differently, but they are different. I mean, I remember there was one operator who says, we don't own rolling stock, we don't own the network, we just lease the siding, and TFR just bring the wagons, and we offload and off they go. But then it becomes cumbersome. And when you look at that, you say, this makes sense, because the small operators can actually build the industry, the rail industry in South Africa. And if you produce something that is user-friendly for them, they can contribute towards the building of the industry. And their contribution must be taken into consideration. And I'm glad that the technical committee was able to do that. I'm convinced that the updated SMS determination really is seeking to enhance the SMS and the operator safety management system, and it's going to help us to achieve that. If you look at the wheel that was put there, this word, the wheel, yeah, it can confuse you a lot. But when you look at the two, the previous one and the new one, you really get to see that this thing has been simplified, and anyone can really relate to it. And why? Because repetitions have been consolidated. They have been simplified. They have been clarified. So now the operators will know exactly what are the requirements of the wheel. And I think that's one thing that we really appreciate. We appreciate it as members of the technical committee coming from different operators. So yeah, I think in conclusion, I'm careful that I should not exceed my 10 minutes. In conclusion, I must indicate that it was quite an informative exercise. It was a learning exercise for me personally, and I hope that the colleagues would also have experienced the same thing. And I think it's the trajectory that we must proceed with all the other standards that we are producing for the industry. Let's be more engaging, let's involve others, and let's make sure that there is some consensus. Of course, we will not agree on anything. We also don't want to impose our views on the regulator, because the regulator has got a role to play. But if the regulator is engaging and the regulator is involving operators as well, it makes our life much easier. We get the same understanding. Thank you, Program Director.
Once again, thank you very much, Mr. Mahenye. I think that was well said. We take note as the regulator. As colleagues, we have said, we want to be a hearing and a listening regulator, in as much as we will come at a later stage to check compliance. And I'm sure I'm not popular with this, that we are very nice when we are engaging, but when safety requirements needs to be met, and when we come to check compliance, we have to be hard on the law. But we are trying to make sure that the law that we put in place is practical, is implementable, and it will assist the industry to improve safety performance. We've taken note, and we appreciate the feedback, Mr. Mahenye. We've taken note of the process comments in terms of its objectivity and the credence that we got in terms of diverse stakeholders. So another clarion call to all operators to participate and to give those comments and inputs so that our blind sites can be dealt with. So we have two speakers who will also give a perspective. We have tried to get a diverse group of operators to give a perspective. You heard from PRASA, you heard from the technical committee member from PRASA and from Transnet. We will hear now from Mr. Tim Bradley, who is the nominated manager for Umfolozi Sugar Planters. Tim, Ifo and our colleague, Mr. Mahenye, has eaten quite a bit into your time, but I will have to be fair to you. Let's give you also your 10 minutes so that you can give your perspective into the process and some of the additional comments that you might want to have so that we can improve our process. Without wasting time, over to you, Tim.
Thank you, Program Director. I'll give you the opportunity to make up a bit of time, I'm sure. I just wanted to give my perspective of SMS as a smaller operator, my 5-year journey, as it were. The first determination, as we know, came out in 2018, and I think it only became sort of operative in 2019, which was just before we had submitted our permit application, and we didn't really have much idea of what it was all about, as has been said earlier. There was certainly no training that came after the case, And we were basically just given the wheel and told, get on with it. And it's all there. It's really straightforward. Two issues became apparent to us pretty quickly. First was that it needed to be streamlined and simplified. Again, this has been repeated earlier during the workshop. But also, as a smaller independent network operator and train operator, we became frustrated with the whole system, that it seemed to have been developed with the larger operators who operate on the national network, if I can call it that way. So it seemed to be aimed at the bigger corporate type operator and not the smaller individual independent operator who had absolutely no interface with the national network. So it was a frustration for us. And therefore, when there was an opportunity to get involved in the development of a new SMS, that was when I put my hand up and said, I'd like to get involved, just to try and add that perspective to it. I certainly don't see myself as a policy developer. In fact, I generally try and avoid that sort of thing. But you can't criticize something if you haven't got involved in this. So while we accept that we can't have custom rules for every different variation of operator, I think it can also be said that there's not one size that fits all. You can't apply a one size fits all operation. And in fact, if I quote the current 8.2 of the current determination, it says the risk management process recognizes that the selection and content of the elements which constitute an SMS is influenced by the complexity and nature of the railway operation. And I've hung on to that through the 5 or 6 years that this SMS has been in operation, and used that quite often in my discussions with the RSO. I said that the SMS identifies that is an issue, and we just need to remember that. So I realize it's a difficult balancing act, but my aim was to try and make sure that the smaller operators were considered when the new determination was developed. I'm not sure if that's been totally achieved yet, but it looks like I've got a new ally, Mr. Mahenya, today, so I'm very, very pleased to hear that. Mr. Program Director, I noted that you said you're gonna take careful note of the need for the diverse operators. So I'm very pleased to hear that. I do think that there needs to be more work on that side, maybe more than just 3 classifications. As I say, we can't have one for all, but I think the RSO know I've been beating that drum now for the last 5 years at least. I think we certainly have streamlined the determination. If you just look at the 2 wheels that were presented earlier, it's very clear that the new one has a lot less content than the old one, which has to be an improvement. The RSR is very big on continuous improvement, and I think that is certainly a case of it. It's probably not 100% where it needs to be, and that will come out once operators start working with us. But I'm certainly hopeful that what's being done is a big improvement on the original one. So, Program Coordinator, Program Director, that's it for me. I would like to thank the RSR for giving us the opportunity as smaller operators to get involved and have a voice in the process. It really is appreciated, and I'd also like to commend the RSR on the professional manner in which the whole process has been conducted. It's been, in my opinion, very well done, very thoroughly done. Lots of really robust debates and understanding, and as one of the team mentioned earlier, that I think it helped us all in understanding what we were dealing with a lot better when we discussed it with other colleagues and the way they saw things. And I think that all added to what hopefully is going to be a better determination for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Tim, and thank you for the feedback, the acknowledgements, and the further inputs that we have provided. We take those to heart. Colleagues, as you are hearing, in as much as we have different categories of operators, it seemed like we need to put a particular focus in the simplification for less complex operations. We have tried to do that in the revision of these SMS requirements. One other thing that we need to point out is that while we want to simplify the SMS requirements, we cannot take out elements that are key for operators to operate safely. However, we are taking note of the comments, and in the review process and towards finalization, hopefully we'll be able to tweak further where we can, so that we can do as Tim has said, and focus on that continuous improvement. And then thank you, Tim, for that. And you have saved me a few minutes, which will help us with the presentation by Tembani and Ayana. We have her on the line. Yes, I think the next presentation will also give us a perspective from another participant, who is Tembani Nayana of RBCT, who is a specialist from the whole terminal side and railway operations from that side. Without wasting time, because I see we are very tight on our time, I think the next presenter is already knocking at my door, figuratively speaking. Let's hand over then to Tembani to give us a perspective from the operator in terms of the different criteria or category of operator. Over to you, madam. Side. We cannot hear you, Tembani. If you can just unmute yourself that side. Sound. Tembani, please try to increase your volume or make sure that your PC sound is on and it's on maximum possible. We are still struggling to hear you. If you can try that again, please. Still can't hear you. Okay. All right. While we are having those technical challenges, let's allow Tembani to address the technical issues on the side. Please allow us to proceed while Tembani is addressing those technical issues. We will then move over to the next speaker. And colleagues, as I've requested, if we have comments to add, we don't want to have stop-starts. Please, let's capture those comments in the chat box so that we can deal with them. Questions, guys, that you have, please take note of them and capture them. We'll get to a Q&A session towards the end of this session. So please hang 10 with the questions. We will address them. Please just do capture them. I see that a lot of issues were raised with regards to permit application process, the assessment of the ASIFs, the annual reviews, and the total permit application process. Let's give it to the lady who deals with this aspect, Louisa Muluisana. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Who is the senior manager in terms of the permit management. She is senior manager, safety permit management. She will deal with the impact of this SMS determination on railway operators in terms of application, administration of the payment applications, and so on. To you, Louisa, we have 10 minutes. If you need more, we can talk, but if you can try and do like D4 and just get to the key areas as a brief. Thank you. Over to you, Louisa.
Thank you, Program Director, and good morning to you all. My task is potentially easier. The crux of the presentation today we've already touched on, which is the changes that we made. So mine is really to take you through any potential effects of these changes as far as your payment application or your asset submission is concerned. So the picture that you see now already that was indicated in terms of the changes that we made, you see the information will be made available for you to be able to see exactly where the changes happened and so that you are able to align yourselves accordingly. All right, so what you see in there is basically the process that you follow as far as the payment application is concerned. So I will be going through the payment application, not necessarily the asset, but as you are aware, the asset is really a subset of
Let's try
the
again.
payment application itself. Okay. All right. Yes, so these are the different steps that we follow. Normally, as existing operators, you don't prompt us with your applications. We notify you, we remind you, and to provide or to start with your application process. So the steps there is really what we would normally follow as far as the application is concerned. And already we have touched on the various tools that we have in place, so I won't go into that. And as a regulator, obviously, we have various activities that we undergo. It's not just on safety payment management, there's also the audits and inspection, there's investigation, the technical reviews. So all of that will now be taken into consideration when your assessment is done, the payment application assessment is reviewed. Okay, so to start with, just on the very first step, we notify you as an operator that will not be changing. We'll continue to notify you or to remind you to submit your applications. I took note of what has been raised from the technical team regarding the requirements as far as if you are a new operator or if you're an existing operator, having the application sort of differentiated in that sense. So we taking that into consideration. Obviously, I cannot make any promises at this stage. Because there's a whole team that will be involved in such, but we will take that into consideration. So as far as the process remains the same. The people, we engage with the nominated manager, the process continues. And for you to be informed, there will be the learning management system that we're looking to have in place whereby you'll be able to go on that system and have the information that you require. Otherwise, we also do have the guidance document. One of the documents we share, which is reviewed on an annual basis, is the safety permit guide, which gives you a step-by-step from the system perspective, which is NEMS, as well as the SPACAM itself. And the requirements there too. So such will remain, except that obviously the SPACAM itself has to be reviewed as well. So there will obviously be some other reviews following the SMS determination. Okay, so you follow, we apply as an operator, the process doesn't change. And the system is, as I mentioned, the name system will have to be aligned. First, obviously, once the SMS, then the SPACAM document has to be aligned, and therefore the system itself has to be aligned to make sure that the requirements is in line with the new SMS, they are captured there. And training will be provided beforehand. So we won't, like Quinn mentioned, to say we give you a document and say if you get it out. We will make sure that you are trained both obviously on the documentation side as well as the name system, how it will have been captured. Right, and then the payment application, we proceed submitting on the name system. We are currently working on the new names, so such is going to be included on the system. And the major changes you can say possibly would be your packaging of your evidence. So as you have seen on the two wheels, even the numbering changed. So it's really realigning your documentation and making sure that you align them with the new numbering. In the current guide, we have an indication of how we need you to number the documents, because such also make it easier for us when we do assessment. Okay, and as we streamline, we also closing gaps between audits and inspections and the permit assessment, as well as the technical reviews and other processes within the operation space. So the review, say for example, you may submit an application, and then whatever you submitted, you may need to now come on site and do verification, site verification, to see that which you indicated in your document, is it in line with what you do in practice? Because unfortunately, in some cases, we find that's not the case. So we are streamlining the process as well to make sure that we align internally, but also make sure that we align with the operators. Okay. All right, and in terms of the assessment process will be, this is that change of, we need to align across various ops functions. System-wise, also that's the approach we are biking on. Make sure that if you want to see what happened on the, say for example, whether occurrence or audit and inspection, we are able to have that view on the system. But I won't discuss the system matters now. There will be an engagement on that when the system is ready. Okay. And then in terms of obviously the SMS requirements, my colleague have already touched on that in terms of the differences or basically the streamlining that happened. I already saw a question that was asking about that, but that information will be made available. And you are able to make an informed sort of inputs. And we do that before the end of this month. Okay, so once we assess, obviously, we will give you feedback. As I mentioned, that process for us, it does not change. So you either submitted a compliant or your application is conforming to the requirements. If yes, at the end we'll give you a permit. If not, then we have a challenge. But otherwise, obviously, in some cases, you may then have conditions which if we can avoid, that would be so. All right, so really in conclusion, the names will be reconfigured accordingly, as well as the spectrum itself will be reviewed to align with the new SMS determination. And yes, the repetition and all of the streamlining that happened. And we looking forward to this to have more inputs and to make sure that your evidence, please make sure that your evidence, once we're ready, you have you align accordingly your numbering in line with that document. And for that, the RSR, we are grateful to have had the technical team and the inputs there too. So the documentations that you will require, guidance documents, system, as I mentioned, will be made available. And you continuously have stakeholder engagements, various types, trainings and stakeholder engagements, and workshops whereby any areas of clarity can be discussed in those platforms as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Louisa. Thank you for that presentation. And you find me laughing. I'm looking at the reactions that I'm noting. It looks like there's interesting reactions to your presentation. It looks like the permit application process is an interesting and a sensitive one. But thanks for that information. I think it was very informative. Key also for me to highlight to the colleagues out there and to the operators. The SMS or the safety management system, if you remember the current legislation, it says that the RSR will issue a permit to operators who have applied in a format that is provided or prescribed by the RSR. And an SMS that is compliant to the requirements of the RSR, and then we will issue you a permit on that basis. My PC is acting up at this stage, but I'm sure we will be okay. So colleagues, please let's take note. The foundation of us engaging with operators is that you have a robust SMS or safety management system that demonstrates to us that you are going to operate safely. I'm also trying to deal with my system here, which is not agreeing with me, but let's proceed. But the important thing is that at the foundation, at the basis, is a robust SMS. So we are trying to make sure that the SMS requirements that we provide through this process allows you to give us a robust SMS that convinces us that you will be able to operate safely. Remember, we are a railway safety regulator, so we are regulating safety. So we want you to operate safely. We want you to reach your targets and objectives in a safe manner. So it is important that we provide you with this framework and these requirements. And yes, as Luisa has said, our systems that needs to be aligned, the NIMS, application processes, and the guidelines will be based on this revised SMS determination. So I'm saying that to emphasize the importance of this SMS and for all operators and all stakeholders to participate in us reviewing these requirements, because this is where everything starts. We will then move to the next speaker. It looks like Uthembani is ready for us. Thank you for that, Louisa. Thank you for clarifying those questions that needed to be clarified. It looks like Uthembani is ready for us. I'm hoping that we have been able to sort out the SMS or SMS to sort out the technical issues that we have experienced. Let's hand over to Uthembani to give us a perspective from the operator, such as BCT. Over to you, Tembani. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I confirm that you can hear me?
We
Hello?
can hear you
Okay.
loudly and clearly.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I do apologize for Murphy's Law decided to play with me this morning on the last minute.
I understand that we are having similar issues this side, but you can proceed. You do not have a lot of time. If you can just summarize and briefly capture your views. Thank you.
Okay, so from the private siding perspective of the SMS determination, I think it has been an additional workload that we've been feeling like it has been an additional workload to the current or the previous existing determination that was in 2018. But after starting with the process of reviewing, I started speaking to the participants of the determination to say that we must shift from thinking of the determination as a policing, system and start thinking of it as house rules that helps us to create a safe culture here at the RBCT. So that being said, I told them that the industry needs to have a standardized guidelines that will help us create the culture. And in this case, the culture will be through the utilization of the SMS determination. So in line with the determination needing to be reviewed, it was a capital letter yes for us, because for continuous improvement to start there, we needed continuous improvement to make sure that in these times that are changing, we cannot have a regulatory framework per se that is still talking to old type of way of doing things. So to make it most relevant and at least applicable for our operation with the changes that we are experiencing as companies. And also, I mean, with the technical working group input, perhaps just to sum up, it was a very learning, it was a learning process, I think, for us all. I agree with Mr. Mahenge on this one. The inputs were very honest, and I think for the application for all the operators has been taken into consideration with the new determination that is being reviewed. Going to the last one with the save of time, I think why do operators need to then make their inputs on this one? I think I will take it from Danny's point. When we are sitting together in our KZN stakeholder engagements forums, he will say that we need to make noise to the regulator. We need to continue. If they are not listening, we need to continue making noise and not keep them quiet. Now, in this case, the regulator has listened to our noise. We've been complaining of the repetition. We've been complaining of the permit application being a bit lengthier or being a bit heavier than before. So now with the change and the inputs that are required, I think we need to make our inputs and do submit our comments before the time is closed. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
As they would say, cough and ponder. Thank you, to the point. Thanks for that perspective. And I think you have saved us quite a bit of time, Timman. I think we will catch up very nicely in terms of our program. Thanks for that, Timman. I think we are ready now for the next item on the agenda. We will have Makola, who will just give us a brief of the next steps in terms of the process that we've engaged, what will happen next. We know that we have published for comments, but I think we need to understand how is the process going to unfold further before we implement. If you can take it from here, Makola, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Chair. Mine is going to be short as well. I'd like to thank everyone the attendees for attending so that we are all learning and all understand how the process has gone up to now. Mine is short, it's just to outline to say what are the next stages from here, from where we are. Okay, so mine is just to outline where we're going from here and how we got here. We have followed the process as depicted there on the poster with 4 stages. And we're currently now on stage 2, where stage 1 was where gap analysis process was undertaken, railway operator survey, there was workshops within the RSR, and the literature was reviewed, and also international benchmarking was conducted. And that was basically what the stage 1 was about. And then on stage 2, that's where we had the technical working group, which was composed of internal RSR staff as well as the industry representative, which alludes to that participatory approach that we've been speaking about. And what we ended with in stage 2 was the draft SMS determination that has been reviewed. The draft was then published for public comment on 28th of February. And what we need now with this public comments is for everyone to participate. I mean, internally, all the stakeholders are encouraged to participate. Also, the industry, more importantly, as the user of the SMS determination. And from that stage, again, after we received all the comments on the 31st of May, we're also going to undergo a process of collating all the comments we received with the technical working group and incorporate preparing the document for gazetting. And then stage 3 is about conducting training workshops on the updated SMS determination requirements for the RSR and the industry. And then there will be workshops. RSR will conduct workshops, and there will also be a survey on implementation challenges and training requirements. And then stage 4, there will be after service support program for management of change in the railway industry. And there will be, that's where now we will have the online learning management system for continuous learning. So what is good about this online management system is that anyone can use it on demand as and when you need it, as and when you need to check where you lack understanding, what you need to know more about the updated or reviewed SMS determination. You can always use the online learning management system. So that is one of the continuous improvement initiatives that came about with this project. Okay, and then we've been sharing posters to engage all the stakeholders internally and externally on participation, on creating awareness to say the determination has changed, these are the changes, and this is how you can input or participate. Also allowing everyone to have an understanding of where it started and where it's at and what has changed and why it changed, to simplify and enable everyone to comment and give this important document their input, so that when it's finally gazetted, it can be a representation of everyone in the industry. So that was basically the purpose of the change management phase that we're in, to ensure that everyone is involved, all the stakeholders, and that there is continuous communication, and that internal and external stakeholders are engaged and are able to participate. And the result of that is to ensure that all the users are empowered and they're able to drive the change going forward as far as the revised SMS and SMSR determination is concerned. And the next steps, as I've been explaining, is this change management initiatives that we're in. I mean, this also, when we talk to communication, this also includes workshops. An example will be this webinar session that we are having, whereby we are sharing all the information regarding the determination, which will enable everyone to understand where we are, at least briefly, but to be able to engage the changes in the document that they need to comment and give input on. Secondly, the public comments, as I've said, the document has been published on the 28th of Feb, and the deadline is 31st of May. And we really implore everyone to give their comments to make sure that there is proper representation of all the stakeholders. And that will be followed by gazetting the determination after we've collated everything. And we'll have stakeholder workshops. And lastly, it will be the launching of the learning management system that will act as a support system for all the users. Okay, in conclusion, as I said, I will be brief, is to further emphasize that the SMS review process continue to be a facilitatory process to make sure that all users are given an opportunity to provide their input in assisting to improve the SMS requirements. We therefore encourage all users to make comments and contribute to making the SMS requirements fit for purpose and to enable us to have an effective and improved railway operations that are safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Lebo, for that. I was getting really nervous with regards to the time. I think we are almost there. Thanks for just highlighting the next steps and where to from here. And I think we need to commend the RSR. I'm wearing a neutral cap in this case. We'll commend the RSR for the improvement, especially with the online learning app or platform that you are working on. I know it will be an offload of a lot of traveling and working for some, so it's an improvement. Thank you for that, colleagues. We are at that time, colleagues, where we are wrapping up. We are going to the next item, which deals with questions and answers and comments. We have allowed everyone to capture their comments, their questions, their inputs on the chat box. So this is the next phase that we are in. We will go to that session where we will now look at the comments that have been raised. We have received quite a few, so we will spend the next few minutes just responding to those comments and clarifying areas that we need to clarify. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. If I check the questions, we have the first question from Busfiso. The question is, the name system is really problematic, or it's a comment in this case. It's problematic in capturing entries. It takes long and leading to use of more resources. Can this be reviewed? This is the capturing question for you, Louisa. I think there is a comment more than a question. Any comment on that one? Okay, let's look at the second one. We've got two, both on names. The second one is from Bonita. It's asking, Bonita is asking whether names will be updated according to the SMS proposed changes. I think that's a clear one. You can clarify that.
Okay, yes, I'll start with Bonita's question. That one, yes, all the system would be. The system will be aligned with the changes that have been made on the SMS determination. And regarding the names issue or how framed it is, we are currently busy with the new names. So hopefully that may answer that question in the future, but not at the moment.
All right, thanks for that. Yes, the NIMS system is currently under review, so hopefully it will address a lot of issues that can be raised. The next one is from Dali Portman. The question is, when will the safety permit application stroke assessment of operators SMS be amended? Will assessment be available at the same time? Let's ask that again. Will the final determination and the SMS assessment be available at the same time? Okay, maybe, I think the question is more to the applicant. Maybe let me deal with that, Louisa. When we review the SMS requirements, which will be published through the determination, that gives the operators the requirements. Now, in terms of conformity assessment, we will also update what we call an SPCAM, which is a safety permit conformity assessment. That will also give you some guidance as to the different elements that you need to capture in your permit application so that we can assess it. So we have to publish the determination and make sure that when we give you the guidelines, they provide you with an updated SPCAM. So the assessment after publication and after training, after the change management process, will be based on a new determination. I think we'll have to communicate maybe the transitional processes in the permit guide to indicate on which date this new permit determination will apply. So all of that will be provided to you in the permit guide. All right, the next one is morning team. In terms of the permit amendment, looks like most of these questions are you, Louisa. Let's deal with that. In terms of the permit amendment application, where an operator has submitted most documents as requested by the RSR, but high-level documents, i.e. the third-party interface agreement, is outstanding. Is there a way that temporary permission can be issued to proceed with operations while waiting for the high-level document to be completed? I'm not sure a high level in this case. Do you want to deal with that, Louisa, or interfaces?
I think this will go back to the definition of a temporary safety permit. So the temporary safety permit will issue it to an operator for areas that are not covered on your existing. So we don't issue it if you are renewing permit. So you still encouraged to remember we go through a process. The 90 days allow us to go through and make sure that your application is in order. But we do not issue a PSP for renewing operators currently.
Thank you, Louisa. That's a softer answer. Let me give a harder answer. The safety management system, it tells RSR that these are the systems that I have in place to demonstrate that I'll be working safely or I'll be operating safely. The interface agreement is a critical element to demonstrate to the RSR that this is how I'm going to operate safely while I interoperate with other operators. For example, the RSR needs to know that when you are at an exchange yard with Transnet TFR, for example, the processes are in place to ensure that you are operating safely. We need to be sure that the risks associated with those interfaces are mitigated. So if the interface agreement is not there, it is not a complete SMS, strictly speaking, because it does not give that view of that aspect of the SMS. So safety management system is an entire system which has got all the elements, including the interface agreement. Maybe just to assist you, colleagues, we do have an interface agreement that we are working on. Yeah, no, we have system issues this side, colleagues. Please pardon us. I'm now dealing with a number of machines to try and communicate. We are in the process of reviewing a standard that will provide interface agreement requirements. We also followed a similar process as we have done with the determination. So that will guide the industry as to these are the minimum requirements that you must have in your interface agreement. So you need to have that interface agreement. And while I'm at it, an interface agreement, it's like any arrangement where two parties are involved. As far as I'm concerned, there can't be a violator on one side only. Violation happens on both sides if the interface agreement is not compliant. So it will affect both the operator interfacing and the non-interfacing operator, or the operator that does not have an interface agreement. I'm not sure if colleagues maybe in the room will want to add to that question. But from the RSR, the interface agreement is essential for you to demonstrate to us that you'll be operating safely at the interface. Any comment maybe from colleagues in the room? Okay, looks like we are good. Let's look at the other comments. It says, I also think it would be ideal to have some sort of provisional permit with limited time frame pending the submission of outstanding documents. I think that will be dealt with in the permit guide process. And outstanding documents, I think it will be assessed on its merit. We can't give a blanket answer. You might have an outstanding document, which is a risk assessment, which is at the center or at the core of your SMS. So we can't give a blanket answer. So it has to be looked at in its merit, and then an appropriate response will be issued. I think that maybe what I need to clarify or highlight to the team, please engage the RSR before that 90 days. That 90 days become a very tense time because we are finishing the application process. We need to comply. Do engage the RSR so that you can get some the guidance and highlight the areas where you need assistance so that we can deal with those issues in advance. Because at the time of assessment, the time is limited. Okay, I think let me not overemphasize that point. The next one, no reflection on train refurbishers. I'm not sure what that question is referring to. Okay, train refurbishers. I think that one has got to do with, I think that the review process, we have a process, it's a review process that assists us to deal with the changes into the SMS of operators. Let me use another gadget. Lucky Mukwasi is asking, please supply operators with booklets with changes made to the Act. Okay, please, these are two different processes. We've got the Act, or which is currently the bill, which is going under review. It's a separate process, or it's a parallel process to this one. That would be both the Act, by the way, and or the current bill are available online. So if you want to see the revised bill, you need to go online and make sure that you access that, you are able to see the changes and implement those. And with regards to the changes to the SMS, the team is collating the final documentation that will highlight those changes. If you look at the presentation that we made, they did touch a little bit on the key changes that were effected in the revised SMS, which will be published in the determination. So we will consider that maybe in our implementation process just to have a document that highlights the key changes. Is it the next question from Anele? Or Anele, yes, is it possible for these presentations to be shared with operators? I believe that we are able to. Moses, do you want to add on that?
No, it's fine.
Okay, my colleague is confirming, yes, these will be made available for everyone to just refer to that. Is it possible to have training schedules made available to operators? Yes, as Memo Kola has indicated, part of the change management process include workshops and training that will be conducted. So yes, those will be shared with the team or with the operators once we are ready with the training. And over and above that, we do have that online training mechanism or platform that we are introducing, which will be available on demand for operators to be able to address the areas where they have gaps. I have addressed all the questions. Are there more? Or it looks like we have more questions that are coming, additional questions. How will the current be affected? Meaning, will all the operators be required to apply for a new permit, or will the operators apply as per normal? And Luis will address that.
Okay, your permit validity won't be affected. Obviously, as you renew your safety permit, you'll be using the new system. Will actually, that question, I think it gives me something to think about in terms of if you're due to submit the asset that following year, how are we gonna deal with that part? So it's a system thing that we look at, but your payment validity will remain the same. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Luis. I hope that it does clarify that question. The next question, quite an interesting one, Kumbulani Kumalo is asking, can we get immunity for historical data older than 5 years? I am not sure what that means. Look, I think we'll have to get more clarity. Immunity, I don't know what's the offense or what's the issue. Historical data. Okay, probably this talks to submission of information to the RSAP. Look, engage the RSAP. I think those are specific, unique circumstances. I'm not sure what this one refers to. The time frame until full implementation is what King Press is asking. We will communicate to the railway operators. Memokola has indicated that we still need to deal with the comments that we will receive from the public comment space. We'll update the determination based on those comments. Then we will publish a rollout plan to the industry. Final expected date by when the revised determination will be published. How does this impact an operator who applied is due to submit SMS? I think Louisa has dealt with different stages of the permit. I think all of that will be taken into account when we implement the new permit or the determination. It will consider at what stage each of the operators are when they applied. Obviously, we'll have to allow sufficient time for the revision of the operators' SMSs so that they are compliant with our requirements. I'm not sure if that addresses all colleagues. I know that we have committed that we will finish at 12 o'clock for 2 watches. One is saying 12:04, one is saying 12:05. So it looks like we are done, colleagues. Before we conclude, I think the next point is now for me. I think we've dealt with the questions, colleagues, that were raised, and I think all things considered.
Wat ek gevra het, maar nou daar sê hy nou niks nie. Gelyk met die goed dat hulle nie weet die antwoord.
Colleagues,
wat verstaan jy nie onder refurbishment nie? As jy verstaan nie wat die vraag.
Maar I'm not sure who's speaking in the background, but we are hearing conversations that I believe are not intended for us. Please mute your.
van der Bank.
Ronel alsjeblieft. Wel met onze Ronel alsjeblieft.
Hi, this is Ronel. I have a
Yes.
question. The refurbishment, our guys are all from refurbishment and nothing has actually been said or it's not been reviewed. Refurbishment in the repair of coaches. And we are the Class C permit guys. So we also need a few answers, at least on interface agreements. Should interface agreements take a year for parties to sign, and how long should it take? Is there somebody that we can contact that are able to assist from the RSR side, so that we can get this on the way and done? That's my question.
I think that question is going to be long, and the answer, I think it's a conversation as opposed to a one-liner. So I would request that perhaps let's have that conversation offline so that you can get those specific answers to your questions. I understand the issue that you are raising.
Yes.
Contact Louisa or her team who deals with permit application, and they will be able to assist you with that answer.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
All right, it's Reginald. As our colleagues, we are done. Let me do my last bit. In conclusion, let me take this time before we close to thank everyone who has participated in this session. To thank firstly our committee members, technical working group members. We value your input and we really appreciate the time that you have taken to work with us in this process. And to become the ambassadors of this new tool that we are revising. And hopefully this time around, it will work better with those improvements. We really appreciate it. Thanks team and colleagues before and Mr. Mahenge. And to all those that are not in this in the boardroom, we know that there are a lot of participants. So we thank you for that. To the RSR team members, various stakeholders internally, we really appreciate your participation, your inputs, your contributions. I think this was very helpful. I know it's a subjective assessment, but I think we've received quite a bit of input in taking the process forward, the comments that we have received and the notes, and even from the technical working group members who added additional inputs. Let's please take note of that, so that the published document addresses the various concerns wherever possible. One last thing, we would like to remind you, please let's complete the evaluation form. And as Tim has indicated, we like to pride ourselves as an organization that is keen on continuous improvement. We want to adjust and improve where we need to. The forms are available on that link. Please click that link that is cited there, and make sure that you assist us with that feedback. With that said, I'm not sure if there's anything from our colleagues here in the boardroom. Is there anything, last parting shots from colleagues? It looks like I've overstayed my welcome. Colleagues, let's enjoy the rest of the day. Let's stay blessed. Please do participate. The published determination is closing at the end of this month, just after you have voted. Be well, guys. Just the hands were in. We'll talk again soon. Bye-bye. Bye.